to the Know Thyself Network.
This is such a good mandala research tool to study for ourselves, but as well as understanding other individuals. And remember, what we're trying to do here, which is the most important thing about astrology, is we're trying to be Jesus in the middle and encompassing and balancing all of these 12 archetypes within ourselves. Okay, that's where the balance is. That's the middle path. This is why he has the doorway. Okay, and there's only one doorway, and it's through the path of Jesus. And this is the incorporation of all of these elements. All of these are dancing within you. We don't want to just identify with what we think our planets are and things in that aspect where we have the most concentration. What that's doing is that's just the universe really putting that in front of your perspective so you see it. And astrology can help us find what might be hidden from us. So it's a great tool, but we learn the tool, we learn the wheel to break out of the wheel. And this is the aspect of what Jesus represents in this highest Christ consciousness that is the ultimate attainment that we are spiritually trying to unfold and uncover. And so let's just always remember that when we're studying astrology, it's about going through all of these 12 cycles, right? The 12 trials of Hercules, right? This is what this is about. It's the incorporation of the complete story of what it means to be a representation in a expression of consciousness. And this is how we most highly honor that unique possibility that was given to us. And it's by attaining this aspect of what Christ represents in the middle. But to obviously incorporate these characters, we first must meet these characters. And so just like a book in the West, we're going to read this from left to right. And as you can already see, notice the difference between a Western mandala and an Eastern mandala. Okay. Think about the prophets between the West and the East. The East, it's more of a play. And it's more of this aspect where the West is the carpenter, right? The construction. West is was more concentrated historically on form. And the East was more concerned about the force beyond the form. Again, this is why we beautifully want to kind of connect to both of these elements, both of these aspects of consciousness. But the West its mandalas are going to be in a little bit more of a fashionable phase like this. That's more kind of not so much just caters to the logical, but it has logical components where if we look at like an Eastern mandala, they're beautiful, but it's more of that universal cyclical, like it's cyclical designs, right? It's more of that yin energy, where this would almost be more of a yang energy when we're talking about mandalas. Again, they can both be used for both of the opposites of each other because always the opposites contained in the substance itself. And so we're going to read this like a Western mandala, and we're going to kind of start from left to right. And so thank you, Pinterest. You cooked it in there. And so here we go. So obviously we got this young gun over here standing right here with his green and blue robe on. And this is the first sign of the zodiac. This is also the first house of the zodiac wheel. And this is where we meet Aries. And don't we see that with Aries? Look at that just ready to take life head on, just that decisiveness. And it's going to be very interesting because we're going to talk about at the very end of this, who Aries is just burning holes in with his eyes. Like, who is Aries just staring down? Like, Aries is really concentrated on something. What is he looking at? Well, don't you worry. We will learn what Aries really inspires. And this represents that burst of consciousness energy. This is the fire of life. This is the coming online in this reality. We all experience Aries somewhere, and we all experience this first house of when we came online in this reality. And anytime we make a spiritual kind of octave jump and we see things from a new higher perspective, we come online in reality in a higher frequency. So we always have these rebirths. This is something that is part of the process. So this Aries is that birth. It's that spring energy. It's the ground, the seeds sprouting through the ground and breaking into life. And this is Aries. Aries takes life head on. Aries lives by its own experience. we talked about that with the, those first discussions we had on the sign of Aries. This is the impulse. This is the going to life. But there's also a natural flow with people with Aries, and they're able to approach life from a way that they can go head first. And this is actually why Aries risings are so able to approach life in such a unique way, because the rest of their house system in a traditional setup, all of the other signs are in their correct housing. So everything's comfortable. And that's why the Aries rising can kind of approach life in this very comfortable way, because on the outside looking in, it kind of has this sober, clear perspective. And that's why I can kind of go head first. But this is it. This is that Aries burst of fire energy, right? This is cardinal fire. This is hay fire, burns fast, burns bright, and burns hot, but it's a quick burn. And so we go from this first house of fire to this lovely second sign right here with Taurus in the second house. Taurus represents form. It represents beauty. Like, look at this cat. I bet he combed his beard for like 3 hours getting ready for this painting. Like, he's just like, I got to make sure I got the best robe. It's got to look good. I got to make sure I get my good side, my right side, all about it, right? But this is what Taurus is all about. It's all about form. It's about beauty. And what we learned from Taurus is that beauty is not the effect of form. It's the cause of form. And Taurus can lead us to experience the beautiful things in life, to stop and smell the roses. This is a spiritual experience for the evolution of our soul, but we don't need to be blind to the beauty that's on the path of it and the beautiful experiences that we encounter, especially when we dance with harmony and really truly learn how it resonates within us and emanates outside of us when it's something that can be manifested. And Taurus teaches us that. It teaches us the harmony in the beauty and form. Synchronicities are actually very much a Taurus thing, because you're seeing the beauty beyond the pattern, and the pattern is actually getting your attention to see the beauty. It's something we spoke about in the last episode when we were breaking down the Tao symbol and the yin yang. And but that's what it is. It's that there is beauty beyond this form, and what we perceive as chaos is just a limited understanding of the entire operation of what's happening in the present, future, and the past. And so that's what this Taurus is looking at. It's still a very deep sign, but it asks for us do we see the beauty in even tough events? And Taurus gives us that wisdom to be able to understand the bigger pattern. So we go from this beautiful looking lad with the Taurus, and we drop down to Gemini, and we've got the twins. Gemini, all about communication, all about the communication between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. And what do we got? We got him like just repping him right up there. And this is to say, the Gemini does have this unique connection between the left hemisphere of the brain and the right hemisphere of the brain. Gemini risings and even Geminis, like when they see the cartoon of the individuals on each other's shoulders, like the good, the angel, and the devil, and the conscious actively speaking to the person in the middle, right? How that kind of comes back around. But the Gemini gets that on such a deep level. Like, they're like, oh my gosh, like either they think it's the funniest thing in the world or it's just like mind blowing to them, but they're like, I know what this is like. And they're like pointing it out to their friends, and their friends like, oh, it's funny, or like, but they don't have as deep of a connection. The Gemini is like, why does this feel so real to me? Because it is real to the Gemini. It's got this like always this active communication between the left and the right side of the brain. And again, there's something that's Gemini is one of probably the most misunderstood signs in our modern day reality for a lot of reasons. Like, multitasking isn't something that all of us can do. It's kind of difficult for humans to do it, but if anybody can do it, it's Gemini, and they actually do okay kind of multitasking and kind of bouncing back from things. And, sitting in a classroom for 9 hours, being told what you're going to learn about and setting it up in like a time frame doesn't really work for a Gemini. But it's interesting, 400, 500 years ago when we were hunting, Gemini would have been like the best hunter in the village, right? So it's so interesting how astrological energy at sometimes it works with the environment and sometimes it's opposed to the environment. Again, Geminis have an intellectual ability, an amazing ability to communicate, whether it's verbal, written, it could be through your hands, it could be through some kind of creative outlet, but there's some sort of communication that is neither needs to be conducted externally or internally received with Gemini. And that's something we can always kind of look at and making sure we're getting the right communication that we need. But very powerful energy. Gemini is this very unique, it's a very fluid, it was ruled by the planet Mercury, so it is without form. It can take any kind of form that the container gives. And so Geminis can usually be good at like meeting people, especially Gemini risings. They can kind of learn how to communicate and kind of fall into not who the person is and not become a chameleon, but talk in a way that that person will generate more conversation. They can kind of pull it out. But sometimes they're very internal as well with this Gemini. Sometimes it's an internal process that happens. And a lot of times with Gemini, if they're not externally communicative, there's a lot of internal communication happening. And even if they do speak out, like even if they do, if they are externally expressive, often the Gemini will tell you that, you know, I'm verbally expressive, but it's only like a taste of what's going on inside my mind. Cause they have these active, unique kind of mindsets. But they're the aspects of idea. They're almost like the sign that's the exoteric ruler of almost alchemy. And so it's a really, really powerful thing because this Mercury teaches us that we have two hemispheres in our brain, and it gives us this understanding of the two selves and how we really need to incorporate that to one and get back to that unity aspect to where we're thinking, feeling, and acting in accordance. And so this Gemini brings on this burst of consciousness of this analytical ability, right? This is us starting to like understand, take in information, process information, and put information out. And so we go from that aspect of the third and we move on down to, we got Cancer right here. And so we have the fourth house, the fourth sign, Cancer. Holding his little heart and just knowing that somebody on the playground is going to come and take that away and he's going to be really, really sad. But we love Cancer. Cancer is the I feeling. It's very intuitive, very empathetic. Um, Cancer truly never, if we have a strong Cancer placement, we truly never forget what the womb was like. And so with that being said, we have an empathy for everybody else because like, even though we don't like linearly analytically remember what the womb was like, the womb was perfection. We were one with the universe. It was in us and we were with it. We were, just connected to the umbilical cord of our mother. And so, we didn't even have desires because hunger, there was no such thing as hunger because that sensation was met before there was even that sensation was needed. Perfect waters. And then we go through this experience of leaving that and coming into this reality, which is a beautiful ultimate honor to get this expression and this ability to have self-consciousness, right? We really want to be very grateful for this realm to develop in, but it's still a challenging thing. We leave that oneness perfection of the womb to this five sense reality where, there's laws of energy, and stuff gets sacrificed and, it's you're eating or you're getting eaten and it's something that we have to live with. And the Cancer has to kind of come online to this. But at first it connects with its heart and it feels emotionally kind of connected. And there is this kind of stage where the Cancer has to learn to kind of leave its shell, to leave its mother and go out on the journey. And that's who we're going to kind of talk about, who's leaning over his shoulder. But this Cancer truly is a beautifully empathetic sign. And we really do feel we have a connection with the moon. We really, operating on following the heart of Cancer is so important because they don't go in the straight line like other signs want them to. They're a crab. And so they actually walk in a line, like a semicircle. And so even the Cancer energy that we find in maybe in our chart or in the area of life that it is, we have to know to just really follow our heart in that environment. And it will get us to where we need to go, but it's not going to be a complete like linear Virgo path like we're going to get introduced to in a couple signs. It's not going to just be a straight line with Cancer energy. It's going to kind of have its own curve, but as long as we're following our heart and feeling our way through that area of life, we'll be definitely guided to the direction we need to go. So we got Cancer holding his heart here, being that indicator of love, celebrating the aspect of nurturing, and how important nurturing is to us as an individual, taking care of something that relies on you for life, whether that's a child, a plant, a pet, a Tamagotchi, a pet rock, creative aspects that we're nurturing. It doesn't have to be a physical thing. As long as we're nurturing something, positive relationships, a better connection with our maybe like our body, that's stuff we nurture too. That's something you nurture. It's the same process. It's just when you do it on the physical external, sometimes it reminds you of it. And you go through the ritual of taking care of something, and it activates that inside yourself, and it opens up, it kind of plants spiritual seeds that blossom later on through the process of nurturing. And so even if it's just my people with the natal charts, they know I'm always suggesting goldfish, but whatever it is, always be nurturing something in our life, even if it's just, unconditional love. That's a great thing to nurture. It doesn't have to be physical thing, doesn't have to be some kind of external accomplishment. It could just be, unconditional love. And so that's what Cancer's all about. He's holding his heart right here, and he's just all about sharing his heart with others, and they really do want to share their hearts and have deep connections. But of course, Cancer's just sitting there. And so Leo's just like, well, I got to do something about this, right? And this is where the moon kind of gives rise to the sun. And this is that Leo energy right here. And Leo is quite literally leaning over Cancer here, and he's actually poking Virgo on the shoulder, and he's getting Virgo's attention, and he's asking Virgo, he just wants to make sure that Leo wants to make sure that Virgo knows that Jesus knows that he's there. And he's just like, hey, I see that Jesus is looking over there. Does he know I'm here? Is Jesus going to look over here at me? And he's like tapping Virgo on the shoulder, because of course, Virgo's Jesus's right hand individual, representing the trivium right there that's created between their arms, which is always kind of beautiful. And it's the father, mother, and the son or the child. As I think, so I feel, so I act. But either way, Leo's just like, hey, Virgo, like, can you tell Jesus that I'm here? And this is so perfect, because what this is telling us is Leo energy, wherever it comes, we want to be seen in that area of life. And so Leo suns in the 5th house, they might really want to be seen for their creativity, but they need to be seen for that. And so with Leos, this is such a powerful energy, because if we're spiritual and we're at Leo and we go on the spiritual path, the amount of movement that you can make, the amount of progress a Leo can make is just, it's like, get out of the Leo's way if they're spiritually inclined. They can make so much progress. There's so much will, and this ultimate commanding of how we direct this energy really comes over us. But we do need to be seen in that area of life. And so it's important that we get that expression. We might be really, really shy, but wherever Leo is, that wants to get some kind of illumination, and it might not be external. It could be an internal thing in ourselves that we need to illuminate. Okay. That Leo doesn't always have to be a projecting kind of thing in the light of day. Sometimes it turns a dark place light so we can see it, but it wants you to see this area of life with Leo. It makes itself present. It's the sun. It's the sign that's ruled by the sun. And so it emanates, and it really pulls your attention, just like the light pulls your attention. Just how the light activates you, how you have more energy when you're in the sun than you do like at the moon at night. Like you might have like night bird energy, but the sun in a healthy dosage very much illuminates life, right? It's very important, right? And so like if the sun doesn't rise, like either do we. Very, very important to us. And so, right, Canoe? And so we've got this Leo energy, and it wants to be seen, but it also can be such a great leader. Leos they really are here. The tough thing about Leo energy is they can't not be seen even when they don't want to be seen. Like the poor Leo, sometimes they're very quiet individuals. And anytime there's somebody on stage who's just like, oh, I need a volunteer, like that Leo really needs to like go deep down in their chair and like cover their faces. Cause like, they're going to get called on, and they always do. And they're like, oh, you there? And it's just like, rat sticks. Why does this always happen? And so, Leos would be the greatest generals of like directing energy in a big, long campaign. They would be probably bad, sneaky ninjas hiding in their enemy's fort at night and sneaking around, because it's just like they get seen. They're just like, oh, I see you. There you are. And the Leo's like, how did you see me? And so it's this interesting energy that kind of comes with it, but we do need to be seen. We have an ability to lead, and understanding how to utilize that Leo energy. We should be very proud of wherever that Leo energy comes. That's our Lion King energy. So what we need to do in that, wherever that area of life is we need to hike up the Pride Rock with Mustafa, and we need to have him show us that everywhere where the light touches in that realm is our kingdom. And to do that through an honest, philosopher, king or queen approach, whatever we need to connect there to. And that's what we're looking at there. That's what we're trying to kind of do. So Leo's going to call us, let's see where we have on Pride Rock. Where are we supposed to get that higher perspective? What are we and how are we going to kind of be the protector of that area, which that lion kind of wants to do? Because again, Leo's leaning over Cancer, but he's also protecting Cancer's heart. He's just like, hey, nobody's this is my boy's sensitive here, so he's also the protector. Because we have Virgo right there too, which is like the hidden female here. And so Leo might be coming in and be like, wait a second, Cancer falls in love with everybody. Like, what's going on here? So we don't, he could be tapping, asking for Jesus, or he could be like, wait a second, like, I see my boy looking, he is falling in love, And so we go from this Leo energy to the harvest, which is Virgo. And this is such a deep esoteric sign in itself. Virgo is analytical. It is so interesting because it's the harvest of all the early 5 experiences. It's when everything kind of grows and all these seeds of our own self-conscious nature develop in us, because that's what we've kind of approached so far, is the internal self. And now what's going to happen after Virgo is the me in here is going to go meet the me out there, and we're going to get to the external world. But everything so far between these houses, in this like development of the self, has been an internal dance. And so what Virgo here is the harvesting and the organizing of all of this information. Virgo is this unique sign, because it communicates in this loving feminine energy, but it's analytical, it's conceptual, it breaks stuff down into its simplest form. Virgo is the ability for us to understand a subject is only when we can explain it to a child. And that's when you really know that you understand something. That's what Virgo very much represents. But it's this harvest. It's the harvest of what we've created within ourselves. And now that self is going to go and it's going to meet the outside world, which is the other counterpoint of this. It's within and without. And so we're going to kind of go on that journey. And Virgo is kind of the crossing path. And it's almost like that mother energy that meets us in the middle to keep us going on that journey. It's like a reconnection to that feminine nature. And this is, again, why she sits at the right side of Jesus. This is Virgo. This is the Virgin. This is everything that was tried to be hidden in exoteric Christianity. Again, that is something that recently happened of that, the Council of Nicaea, the timeline and everything of that, is when we took the feminine out of the trivium and we made it the Holy Ghost. But it was always kept with the in the know. And it's always going to be in the know. And we get that through fine art and these Renaissance painters and all of these individuals that were connected to the esoteric, connected to mystery schools, and understood the same information that we all get jazzed about chatting about. And I mean, obviously, this amazing painter put this energy to this, and just, we're looking at the placements of the body, the energy. Remember, these are just housing units of the universal life force energy. Okay. It's broken down into 12 so we can perceive it, because we can't understand it in its complete cosmic egg self. So we have to break it down and to make it have differentiation to it. I'm struggling with that word, but we're going to just keep going. We're not canceling this video. But we need to break stuff up into the poles and break them up into this reality, because that's part of this construct of experience. But again, seeing that this is the ultimate creation of we see this as the table, we zoom out, and we see it as this oneness energy of all of this energy working within us. And so Virgo, all about that analytical, can simplify, can filter. Virgo is the idea of the gold miner. Virgo gives us the ability to pick up all of the rocks and hold it to the light so we can see the specks of gold and the experiences that we have. Virgo helps us do that. Virgo helps us find the gold in the experiences. And that's what the alchemist is all about. It's finding gold in each and every one of your experiences. You know, you think about that great ancient tale about the Chinese farmer, where he has those circumstances of fortune and then misfortune. And every time he's greeted by his neighbors, excuse me, um, every time that he's greeted by his neighbors, they either praise him for the fortune or they have sorrow for the misfortune. And it's always his response is maybe. And how powerful that is, because that is how we approach life, you know. And I know I use this example all the time, but you know, the idea of winning the lottery. Well, as a spiritual alchemist, we would say maybe. Like, is this going to make me more, you know, connected to my community? Is this going to make me happier? Is this going to make me support my loved ones? Or is this going to make me greedy? Is this going to make me, you know, cynical? You know, because then the alchemist will be like, well, was it a good thing? And it was like, maybe. And so what the Virgo helps us do is find the spiritual gold in all situations, and how important that is for this, because this is, again, a classroom and we're always being tested. And we're always being tested for gold, to find that gold, to find that substance, and to collect that. And that's what we're working for. And that's truly the ultimate currency. Now, other currencies are very important. But that's the currency we're really kind of after. And so we go from the sixth house and we go from the sixth sign in the sixth house and we move into the seventh, and we have Libra. We have Libra with the balance. And this is exactly what's going to come and happen here. It's the balancing of this energy. And we even see it in the figure. And Libra is a blessing, because if we are Libra, we have Libra rising or a Libra sun, or whatever house Libra is in. Well, Libra is a unique blessing because it's very obvious when something's balanced, and it's very obvious when something's not balanced. If you think about it, physically holding something, you feel when something's balanced in your hands. I'm so sorry. And you feel when something's not balanced in your hands. It goes without even being explained what it is. It's a natural phenomenon. Even going into a place and seeing somebody who has like a balanced living space to somebody who has an unbalanced living space. You know, you did that when, like, I remember that being in college, and you would go to like your friends from high schools, like either their dorm room or the first time, or more like when you like moved out and you got like an apartment or something like that. But you would go over there and just be like, there's a lot of stuff on this wall here. Like, it's all cool stuff, but like there's a lot of stuff. Like, I think if you took some of this stuff down and just maybe put like 3 things, it would be really nice. And they're like, wait, no, like more is the better. And you're like, but it's all over the place. And then they would do it and they're like, wow, that's amazing. Because it's like a balanced approach. And like, again, you could kind of see this from um going to young males, like houses that just moved out, and young females. And usually females have a better idea of what that balance looks like. And again, there's men that are connected to that, and there's females that are definitely going to do that, and everybody in between. Like, everybody's their own person. And so not trying to like classify it there, but you can see who sees balance and who doesn't see balance. But it's very noticeable. It's like a physical thing that we notice. We notice when we're unbalanced in the body, right? That's what sickness is. It's dis-ease. It's unease of the body. And balance is always being presented to us in nature. And that's why he's wearing green, because it's the representation of nature, because nature shows green when it's in balance. It's the ultimate color of homeostasis. And that's what we're trying to obtain, that balance between the external and the internal, the balance between the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain, the balance between your career and your spiritual soul, you know, because we're in both of these realms. We can't deny anything part of this experience. We really cannot deny the aspect of spirituality, but we can't deny the aspect of having to, you know, utilizing our energy for work. And creating that energy to make a foundation of life, because food, water, and shelter is needed in this experience. And so balancing that out, and again, finding maybe something that creates both of those currencies. And that's always my biggest suggestion when people ask me, about like not job ideas, but just recommendations. Well, what you really want to do there is you're going to be giving energy. And so you understand spiritual currency, and you understand physical currency, and you even understand mental currency, which is like the learning of like skills and processes that come in careers and experience. And so you just try to get to a job that's going to collect all three of those currencies. And that's like where balance is met. And so, yeah, do we maybe have to sacrifice a little bit of the physical currency sometimes to get into a place that we get more spiritual currency? Yeah, well, maybe, but we have to balance that out if that's going to be good for us, and it might be not at that time. Like maybe we are trying to create a foundation. We have a family, like we need to focus a little bit more on that physical currency. And then once everything gets established down the line, maybe then we can make that move to maybe collect some of that more of that spiritual dough. But again, we can always find a way to be collecting all three of these. But that's what this Libra is asking, is to balance out the things. Like we can go to the scales in life, and we can look at the possibility of actions and what might come from this, and what kind of opportunities this creates, and what kind of opportunities it moves away from. But the Libra has ability to kind of get a balanced approach there. And that's what that seventh house is finding our Zen, finding that middle ground. We, we met the two hemispheres with Gemini. And now we are balancing those two hemispheres in Libra. The two hands are still having a lot of activity from air to air. And so we're just seeing the later expression of this with Libra. And that's what we're kind of looking at. And it has that balanced kind of approach. And then right over its shoulder, we have another shoulder hunter right here. We actually have two shoulder hunters on Libra. Look at that. I love that aspect too, of that balanced aspect. But we've got Scorpio on the right with the stink. And this would represent Judas. Scorpio, got a lot to say about Scorpio. Scorpio is probably just needs to get its own video. Scorpio deserves its own study in life, where you are involved with Scorpio, whether it's a sign that doesn't have a lot of power in your chart. Either way, in this reality, in the esoteric, in the occult, Scorpio is probably one of the ultimate teachers. Scorpio is the study of cycles and patterns, which is everything in the esoteric. Scorpio is the study of the underworld. Scorpio sees the form, but it also sees the shadow. Scorpio, again, the biggest thing that can come from anything is the understanding of cycles and patterns, and knowing that everything in this reality is based off of causality. Everything in this moment is collapsing a wave of a cycle and pattern that was put into place in the past. Everything in this moment. Now, not all the cycles and patterns were put into place by you. There's some that were put in place by family. There's some that were put into place by your environment, nature, community, nations. There's so many cycles and patterns, but everything that's happening in this moment as my voice is collapsing these waves is a result of a pattern that was put in place in the past. Even us just connecting on this Patreon video, you had to connect with the pattern of even finding the podcast first. And so that's what Scorpio teaches us. Everything is about cycles and patterns. And so what this means for us is, if everything in this moment is a result of cycles and patterns, well, that means everything in the future, which is going to kind of come into my environment and the experiences I kind of pull in, those are going to be a result of a cycle and a pattern. This is where the secret lies of Scorpio. Scorpio ask you to, nothing can ever be said in your cards, nothing can ever be said in your chart, because at all moments you have a chance to change how the cards are dealt, because all those things are going to tell you about dominant cycles and patterns that you might be in through like your natal signs, or you might be in the moment of the current thought process, which is like the tarot will really kind of usually illuminate for us. But either way, we always have the ability to change the future, because we always have an ability to change the cycles and patterns that we're putting into place in the current moment. And that's where the power lies. We evaluate cycles in the past to learn about them. We look into the future to understand where we want to head our direction to. But all the power lies in the now with Scorpio. Having a sober understanding relationship with your cycles and patterns, both your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual relationship, all of them. Having a sober relationship with those and objectively being able to look at them is going to be the biggest tool any spiritual seeker can ever put on that spiritual tool belt. Scorpio is everything. Scorpio is such a deep energy, and we're probably just going to have Scorpio talks where I just go out on these like Scorpio rants. And because Scorpio it's such a powerful force. It's what the serpent wisdom is. And this is very important for us to understand. And Scorpio energy, wherever it is in us, it's like boiling water. It's like steam energy. You can't get rid of it. It has to have some kind of expression. So we want to make sure that the Scorpio energy is getting expressed out of the highest octave it possibly can for us at that moment. Really kind of raising it up to chakras. It can come out in the lowest forms and be kind of destructive to not only the self, but the mentality, so many things. And so, again, great power comes great responsibility. That's Scorpio. 100% to the T. It'll get you with the sting, but it also can be your ego. And most importantly, it could be your phoenix. The Scorpio is going to teach us that in this, one of the things that we need to understand is that there's no such thing as death. And with death, we have rebirth. And what Scorpio wants you to know is what death and rebirth is. But the thing is, you can't die and be reborn on the physical. You can't die and be reborn on the mental. You can only die and be reborn on this reality in the spiritual. And that's what Scorpio's trying to get you to do. It's always a spiritual death and a spiritual rebirth. And then it will give you deeper understanding of who you are. It will open up more symbols for you, open up your ability to perceive patterns in a more universal way. We go from coincidence to synchronicities. And it's not so much we're hunting it, but it's more the universe letting us, kind of whispering to us that we're on the right path. And so this 8th house of Scorpio moves into this 9th house of Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is standing tall here, the sign of philosophy, the sign of higher education, the sign of true religion. And it's standing tall because it's got horse legs under here. And that's why it's standing taller than everybody, because he's got hoofs. Like, he can't sit down. He can't be at the table. He's got to stand outside because he's a centaur. And so he's taller than everybody. And he's got a beautiful mane. And he's overlooking this aspect because Sagittarius is this unique fire sign. It's not like the Leo and it's not like the Aries. This is the fire sign of community, of genuine love. This is that connection with Santa Claus's giving energy. This is very unconditional giving energy. Sagittarius is about the finer substances. It's about the bigger ideas. It likes philosophy. It likes the bigger ideas. Gemini is more about just like collecting everything that's coming at it. Philosophy is going to kind of come from Sagittarius, which is the bigger ideas, and how, archetypal themes. And so Sagittarius, standing tall, also has this unique kind of enthusiasm because it uses its fire to build up other people. Instead of taking its fire into a long campaign like Leo, or running into the Rambo situation of the jungle, lone wolf style like Aries, Sagittarius takes its fire and it puts it on the ground. And it creates warmth and comfort for everybody in the community. And they're allowed to sit and stay by the fire. They can cook their food by the fire. The fire gives protection. And that's what Sagittarius is here to do. And it likes to do protection through the idea of living a philosophical life and being the best person it possibly can be. So Sagittarius really taps us in to those finer substances. These are like the deep belly laughs you have with your friends. These are the beautiful moments, so like when a child is born, or when they say something adorable, or when we see like a cute zoo animal. Like that's Sagittarius. Like, it's just like warm air expansion kind of energy. It's almost like we want to squeeze something cute, because like Sagittarius gives us this kind of love that represents Jupiter, which is just like this warm air of gas. And so we almost just want to like squeeze our hands through it, but we know we can't do that because like you can't just squeeze everything that's cute. But that's what that urge is. It's like that Sagittarius and just like, oh my gosh, I just want to squeeze you. And so that's what we're kind of looking at here. Also, like big philosophy stuff, bigger ideas, our connection to religion, even true religion. Like this is a Sagittarius kind of idea and philosophy, and they really are. They're usually a cup half full. They're usually optimistic. Now, the Sagittarius does need to, if we have a lot of Sagittarius energy, we do have to direct our energy, because the Sagittarius sometimes might go through life and realize that it just kind of used its charisma and it was having fun and it kind of wanted to explore more. Maybe it knocked off opportunities because to really live the life of adventure that it wanted, because it was like comfortable in like a social situation. Like, we sometimes have to like make sure that that Sagittarius energy is grounded, but it's a beautiful energy to tap into. And it really is inspiration and optimism. And you really have an ability to share that with other people. So find out what house your Sagittarius is in and find out how you can be that local house Santa Claus, and you can give that energy, because when you give it, you receive it back with Sagittarius. And so it's a win-win. And so we have this unique, beautiful Sagittarius energy that is just, reflecting on creation, reflecting on the creator. Like, look at, nobody's gazing at Jesus quite like Sagittarius is. And this is the honor, this is worship, this is gratitude. That's what Jupiter is. But one of the things we realize is, like, we are, just like these are housing units of universal consciousness, we are universal housing units of consciousness as well. So we are this housing unit. So this energy is being received into us. And so with that being said, we are going to be led by something. We are all sheep, and I say that in a very like loving way. But we just have to choose who our shepherd is. And Sagittarius is showing you who the shepherd is. That's objective truth. That's unconditional love, and that's spiritual sovereignty. That's what we're looking at. That's the story of Jesus. That's what Jesus told us with his words. That's how we get through the path. The middle way is through Jesus. And this is what it's exploring. Okay. And like, even these overarching symbols in the back, and we'll go back, because I realize I'm already like chatting for like 42 minutes with you people on this, and you guys are like, oh my gosh, dude, weren't you just going to break down the painting? But I'm having so much fun doing it. And so with this Sagittarius, we'll kind of break down some of these elements outside of this in another conversation, but we're going to move from this loving energy of choosing the shepherd that we all should choose, which is, again, truth, love, and freedom. And we move now to the last trinity of signs. And notice how the signs only communicated in the packs of 3 that they were in. It's like they were isolated. It's like they're the seasons or something. And that's exactly what they are. And we're ending with winter, and we started with spring. We have summer, obviously, with Leo, and then we have fall with Scorpio in that bunch there. So they're all speaking in their seasonal sections. They're broken up into 3s. Now we're going to know that by the 3 signs in each element. But then the signs can also be broken up between cardinal, mutable, and fixed. And we're going to kind of go through that aspect together. But we've now approached a new season, and this is winter. And so this first sign that we see is Capricorn. And notice how Capricorn and Aquarius are the only signs that are, and I'm just going to move my computer because it is sitting in the sun. And I realized that it's probably pretty toasty. And it's like, why are you doing this to me? We could just be sitting right there. You're not even on camera. And so you're on a computer. Let's cool you down so you don't explode. But we have Capricorn here. And Capricorn and Aquarius are the only 2 signs that are actually looking towards the future. And this is exactly what they do. They look towards the future. They're very humanitarian. This is the energy that in this area of life, wherever Capricorn and Aquarius finds yourself in, this is an area in life that we can kind of plant the seed for the next generation. And it would do us well to do that on our own self-development and understanding of who we are. And it could be in so many different ways. That could be so many different things, but we're able to plant seeds for fruit that we're not going to bear. And the difference between Capricorn and Aquarius is Capricorn, if you can see by his hands, is pulling in the past. Capricorn's more traditional than Aquarius. It pulls the past into the current moment. So it pulls old wisdom. It pulls old knowledge. It pulls the ability and the power of proper tradition. Pulls the power of, ritual over routine. It pulls the power of significance to life. It pulls the power of meaning over motion. It pulling all these ancient ideas back and giving them a proper placement in the modern times. And so Capricorn, utilizes information very well. Everything it takes, it wants to utilize in a productive way. Virgo analyzes and organizes. Taurus kind of beautifies. Capricorn is all about utility, creating utility and creating a reason or a use to a skill or a piece of knowledge is what Capricorn's all about. And this is why Capricorns are old souls. Usually if they're rising, they're Capricorn rising or Capricorn sun or moon, because they instill wisdom quickly. They understand that this is knowledge on itself is pointless until it's instilled into the individual and it becomes wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge in action. And that's the Capricorn does that. And the Capricorn doesn't talk the talk. The Capricorn just walks the walk. It is true, like OG energy. Like it just does it to do. And it's actually very humanitarian. And it actually serves others in a way of giving its energy, because the Capricorn is the mountain goat that will forever go up the mountain. The Capricorn is the individual that should be employee of the month every month, but the Leo gets it. But the Leo gets it because like they get seen doing that area of life, and they're probably like a fun energy. And the Capricorn truly doesn't care either about employee of the month. It just wants to get the job done. So looking at that area of life of like, where do I need to kind of take care of business? That's going to be that. And when we say taking care of business, sometimes that means learning from my experiences, you know? So wherever Capricorn is, say it's like in your 7th house, we're going to learn we're going to kind of go through we're going to be asked to learn wisdom in that area of life. We're going to really be instructed to grow our character, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. But we got to be honored for it. And we got to be looking for the lessons, looking for how we could have maybe acted better, or, you know, gaining a better understanding of that. But Capricorn wants us to get tradition, and it wants us to get discipline. And if we get discipline, it will be our foundation, and it will be there through thick and thin, and it will always be climbing that mountain with us. But we need to get discipline. And so sometimes the area of life that Capricorn is, we have to learn a little bit more in that aspect. That subject might not come easiest for us, but by the deep discovery that we go on it, we'll be able to pull out insights that didn't just come with like the standard exam that other people came with. We had the bonus exam that had a bunch more questions and there was graphs, but the wisdom we got out of it was worth its weight in gold 100 times over. And so Capricorn is all about bringing this tradition forward. Capricorn understands that it's connected in the opportunity of life is the greatest honor, and it wants to serve it till its last breath. And so Capricorns got the discipline, they've got direction, they like tradition, and they like just to, you know, getting their hands dirty is good for the Capricorn soul. You know, so looking where that kind of comes into our life, that's important. And so we go from Capricorn here to the 10th, and we jump to Aquarius with the 11th. And notice how we still got him looking towards the future. And this one's going to be a little bit more future based. Aquarius is almost, if Capricorn is like the time traveler from the past, bringing back old information and traditions so we understand them and better utilize what the true teachings were. Aquarius is like an alien from the future. And it comes from a time that we like overcame our limited things that we do as humans. And we're living in a more natural environment. And the Aquarius is here to be like, almost like pat us on the head and be like, it's going to get better for you guys some days. Like if you just did this would help out a lot. And the Aquarius, usually wherever that comes in our house, we do have a utopian view of how to maybe alleviate pressure, or we have a unique inventive way of approaching that way of life. And that's what Aquarius is looking at. Aquarius is a lot of innovation and innovation. Intervention and innovation. I think I combined those words twice together in the beginning one. But either way, it's those two things. And Aquarius is all about that. It's all about coming up with new ideas, about connecting the human network. Technology is ruled by Aquarius. We are entering the age of Aquarius. Hence, you know, meta glasses and everything, and just the connection to technology. And again, you know, technology, although I might not understand it and I might not physically maintain things in their proper fashion, it is important, and we can utilize that skill and that unique tool for growth, or it can be damaging for us. And, you know, so The Aquarius also calls for us to have ethics with how we use technology. And that's something that is a questionable thing if it is even brought up in modern society sometimes, is the ethics of a technological invention. But again, this process is happening. There's a bigger process happening here. And the deeper we understand that, the more we can understand why certain things are kind of happening in front of our eyes. But this Aquarius really is this humanitarian universal figure. And the Aquarius really sees life in the objective. Aquarius risings often almost it's difficult for them to have subjective. Like they learn subjective in one-on-one relationships. And that's how they actually kind of subjectively learn about themselves, because they're such an objective sign. But the Aquarius very much is that objective sign. It sees the trees in the forest, but it knows that all those trees are connected by the same roots. And that's truly what this universal human experience is. And what we're going to get deeper with Pisces is it's a universal connection to all life, that we're actually connected to that network. It's not just the humans, but Aquarius really celebrates the humans. It gives us the idea of utopian visions, because all Aquarius wants to do is just like, if you gumballs just understood yourself more and allowed your authentic self to blossom and let other authentic selves blossom, you guys would not have any of your problems. And we're like, well, that's just too damn easy, Aquarius. So we're like, burn this witch. But the Aquarius always has the right ideas. But the thing is they're just kind of from the future, and they have to realize that. And so, like we unfortunately we're going through this really slow evolutionary curve and learning lessons on the way, big stuff, the Aquarius has to ask big questions too, the idea of like, when we even think about like alternative history and Aquarian ideas, like stuff like Tesla, um, what would the current state of humanity do with free energy? We could have like a utopian idea. If we had free energy, would we utilize it for good? But then it's also like, well, what about the state like of humanity? Not so much these people in this network, but we have to ask questions like that. Are we at that spot in humanity to have these like Aquarian ideas? Do we have to develop ourselves better before we have that kind of relationship with things? And again, I am not saying that I'm for like, the destruction of the environment for energy or anything like that. But it's an interesting question for us to ask. And that's kind of what the Aquarius needs to ask. Like, how do I fix this so we can actually harvest bigger ideas like that? And again, we all have our own opinion on that. And I actually have, I think, an opinion that is, people might say, is a little bit more optimistic on that than some of the researchers. But it is something that you have to investigate. It's something you have to think about. And I know you're like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about, dude? We're talking about the Last Supper here. And that's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about Aquarius coming here at the 54-minute mark. So jazzed that I had this conversation with you guys today. But this Aquarius is all about the future, science fiction, space operas, buying Maine and starting our own nation out there, I guess, Maine Nation. Wow, that works out well. And so this is the Aquarius idea, and like connecting the network, and that's what's so important about this time period we find ourselves in. The human network, getting connected to that on a true level is what this is all about. Coming together, networking different kinds of astrological schools, learning the East with the West. We really need to get a network understanding of esoteric information at this. And so we have Aquarius and Capricorn just philosophizing, just coming up with ideas, conceptualizing, just yelling at Pisces here. And we come to the oldest, wisest sign, which is Pisces. And Pisces, which has the deepest information, but sometimes struggles to express it, because it's not that it can't find the words, it's because its knowledge is beyond these words. And the Pisces is quite literally has its hands up, and it's like, what are you talking to me for? Like, why you philosophize? Like, what are you doing? Like, the Son of God is right in front of you. It's all in front of you. It's go to the source. Just go back. And that's what this Pisces is. This Pisces is this deep wisdom. And again, don't you forget about Aries. Who was Aries eyeballing the whole way? Boom, just burning holes through Pisces back there, craving experience. And that's what Aries wants. It's that pure consciousness. It's craving experience. It's craving the experience of Pisces, which is ultimate wisdom. Pisces is, it's the doorway into this reality, and it's the doorway out of this reality. I had more terms for words for Pisces, the 12th house, and its corresponding planet Neptune when I started doing astrology readings, and I have less words now. And what that truly means is that I understand this sign, this planet, and this house more now, because its information is beyond words. And when it does, it presents something, it comes and dissolves it. It's like the idea of a sandcastle on the beach. You make it just for the wave to kind of come and take it back. That's what this Pisces energy and everything kind of is going to turn to dust in this reality. And that's something that we have to accept. And there's certain things that get carried on, which is our character and the size of our heart. But the physical is going to dissolve. I speak about this on the podcast, but Pisces is the lesson of every board game in the world. I use the term Monopoly, but it works for any board game. Doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how much property you have. It doesn't matter if you get the top hat or if you're the dog or if you're the thumb thimble thing. At the end of the game of Monopoly, whoever has Boardwalk and Park Place, whoever had the most, whoever was the banker, it all goes back into the box. That's what Pisces is teaching us. It all goes back into the box. Everything's going to go back into the box. We need to be aware of that. And we need to understand that within this cycle, there's certain things that we should be learning on this journey. And we learn this wheel, these 12 steps, to free ourselves from this wheel. This is why we are always learning in this classroom, is to understand the operations that come shortly after this classroom and how important they are and how we build that understanding and that connection here in the present day life. And one of the greatest ways to do that is connecting to the things that we've been speaking about, which is objective truth, unconditional love, and spiritual freedom. But we can connect this on different realms as well, in different kind of ways. And so we will be doing, I owe a meditation video to an individual, and they know exactly who they are, and they're laughing right now if they're listening to this video. But I'm going to post it I think I'm just going to post it on the Patreon so everybody gets it, and they would be more happy about that as well. And so I will be kind of posting a good meditation to kind of connect with this heart center that we're going to be kind of exploring. That's the ultimate guide, but that's what Pisces wants. It wants us to connect back to the void, which is the ultimate source of energy. And it's what we have to understand. And it actually plays a very pivotal role in this process of our soul and the development. And so Pisces it's the doorway to the next. It's the mystical. It's also where some shadow can lie for us. Wherever there's energy with Pisces or in the 12th house, we need to explore it. It's kind of a dark aspect of the mind. The 12th house, the 8th house, and the 4th house kind of represent dark aspects of the consciousness. And you want to kind of see what signs you have leading in there. Some people have fire leading in there and they can explore it. Some people need to emotionally process it through emotions because they have water there. Earth signs kind of have to explore it almost like a gnome would and chip away at it and kind of gain its footing. All of the signs are going to have their own kind of connection to that. But something to think about. And again, guys, we're really trying to get this entire table within us. Okay. And we see obviously, the 4 legs for the 4 elements, the flat surface, of what this reality is for this contents, and even just the aspect of the food, everything, the arches, all of this is playing a huge role. And even the speed of light is actually encoded back here. I believe it's either speed of light or I will get actually exactly what's coded, and I will find that picture before I just start saying some Taurus bullshit. And I'm allowed to say that because I'm a Taurus. But that's actually where that term comes from. And so I don't want to ever say that. I'm always going to have the reference for you. And I always correct myself if I ever get a reference wrong. But again, this was fun. An hour and a minute that we kind of chatted about this Last Supper and how beautiful this story is. And we're going to kind of keep continuing with Jesus, his exact words, the universe, spirituality, you know, becoming good friends with dolphins, like all the good things that we want to talk about, we are going to cover here. But this has been such an honor to have this conversation with each and every one of you. I hope, I hope peace, I hope love, I hope internal guidance, everything. Always remember that although this is a very independent experience, you're never alone. And it's an honor to be on the journey with each and every one of you. And each and every one of the people on this journey with you feel the same way. And so tip your hat, give some love, and we'll all get connected very, very soon. So until next time.